Good evening again to everyone, and welcome to this L&D webinar from a very rainy Chennai. Unusual weather that we are having, very cold, very unusual for Chennai's climate. And today we have a very interesting topic. And we have a very eminent speaker to deliver this topic. So we are looking forward to an exciting 1.5 hours of lots of learning. Okay, so coming to the topic for the day, it's going to be on direct communication, communicating effectively for coaches. It's one of the core competencies for coaches. When we think of communication, this quote of Mahatriya comes to my mind. He keeps telling that 90% communication is in preparing the mind, and 10% is what actually we communicate. So this is exactly true for coaches also. We talk about 80-20. 80% is the client and 20% is what we are supposed to communicate. So when I think of preparing this mind, I would like to share a short story. This is a story about a scholarly king who was ruling a kingdom, and one day a Buddhist monk came to the kingdom, and the king came to know about the Buddhist monk from his ministers. The monk is supposed to be a highly, a very renowned and very scholarly person. So the king decides to go to him and get some wisdom. So he visits the Buddhist monk and introduces himself as the king of the kingdom. And he says, I'm here to get some wisdom from you. So the Buddhist monk sees at him and says, let us have a cup of tea. So he offers him a cup and he starts pouring the tea. As he starts pouring the tea, the cup fills and it starts spilling over. And the king gets agitated. He says, can you not see the cup is full? Why are you pouring it further? So the Buddhist monk calmly reverts to him saying that, go and get your cup empty. So there's a powerful message. So we are here to learn. I hope our cups are empty. Here to learn, and we are free. Empty for me means free from thoughts, free from other thoughts, free from other worries and other things, and an open mind to learn. And as coaches, presence is an important competency. We would like, all of us would like to be present here at this moment to get the maximum out of this webinar. So today, the core objectives that we have charted out are what is the importance of direct communication and how it impacts at a masterful level, and is there some techniques for overcoming the barriers to direct communication during a complex coaching situation. So we have Mr. Ujjaval MCC, a very eminent speaker from Vadodara, Gujarat. And welcome, Ujjaval. Welcome to Chennai's webinar. And on behalf of the Chennai chapter, I would like to thank you for accepting our invitation to deliver this webinar on this topic. So Ujjaval is a founder director of United Minds. Very interestingly, he says, I love experimenting with different coaching methods. So, and a person who successfully blended theory U and coaching for organizational changes. Very interesting. Probably another topic for a webinar, Vijay. And he's a global executive leadership coach and a mentor coach. And we have Ujjaval with us. I will hand over to Ujjaval. But before that, I would request people to mute yourself and Question and answers will be taken up at the end. You can put in your questions, if any, in the chat box. I'll keep monitoring it. And this webinar, since we have CCU, it has been approved for CCUs 1.5 core competency CCUs. It is compulsory for people to completely participate from the starting to the end. So to monitor that, we would like to give you passwords. The starting password is Chennai Rains, in line with what is happening outside. I will put it in the chat box also for people. And an ending password will be given to you, and Google form will be shared with you for your feedbacks, as well as to enter your names and emails for us to prepare the CCU certificates. And now it's time to hand over to Ujjaval. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Natarajan. Thank you so much, Vijay, and warm welcome and expressing my gratitude to everybody. I have been honored and privileged to serve all of you today, and feeling absolutely at home with such a warm welcome from Natarajan, ICF Chennai chapter, Vijay, and I see that all of you are joining from different parts of the country, different parts of the world. So it is good evening, good afternoon, good morning for you. Please convert it like the dollar exchange rate. Please convert it, my greetings, as per your time zone. And it's my pleasure and honor to serve you today. But what you can expect in the session, some book references, some lighter moments, some comments which may suddenly come from, it looks like without context, but everything will be contextual. And the objectives are already shared, so I may not go in exactly the same order, but at the end of the session we would have covered all the objectives. And since it's a session on direct communication, I have stayed away from any slides. Okay, so but we may have experience like a glide. Okay, that's what I will try and do that. And just to starting point, so Vijay mentioned about CCEUs. So maybe this for this session we may have to rename, Vijay, from CCEU to DCEU, because it is direct communication education units. Okay, so with that, just wanted to check with you that because this used to be core competency 7 in the in ICF nomenclature, current core competencies, and the new, and I hope they actually launch it before the new becomes old. And so some of you have been trained on new competencies, some of you have been trained on current competencies, which used to have 11 competencies, and now we have 8 competencies. Okay, so this direct communication, Vijay and myself had a conversation, and actually it is her thought. This session is her brainchild, um, uh, about direct communication, which used to be so important and so critical. So ICF has just now rephrased it and renamed it. So direct word is no longer there. However, it is now converted into communicating effectively, and it is spreaded, sprinkled across multiple competencies. Okay, so I would be referring to the current competencies, which in our, some of you have been trained in 2021. It is treated as old competency. So whatever is good and old and new, don't get into that. But what I will do is that I will just display, okay, and I have not made any slide. I will just display straight from the ICF website how the direct communication core competency is defined in 4 or 5 sub competencies, and then we dive into today's session. But before going over there, just wanted to check with you that when you hear this word direct communication, what comes up for you? As coaches, if you don't have to Google it, and if you don't have to look at ICF competencies, how ICF is defined, what is your version of how direct communication looks like for you? So in case you would like to express in the chat box, shall be happy to take a look at that. authentic, transparent, one-to-one, simple yet powerful, receiving and giving feedback. Okay. Clarity, clearly understood, no judgments, opinions, focused, personal. Wow. Okay. Clarity. Okay. Great. Keep them coming. And let's see what ICF has to say. Okay. And it's not a masterclass on competency, so don't worry on that. We're just using as an anchor to dive into something which I had planned for today's session. Okay, so let me share the screen, and it's all readable hopefully for you, so I will not read that, but just one point is ability to communicate effectively during coaching sessions and use language that has greatest impact, positive impact on the client. So you can reflect on this for a moment and just focus on what is written as 5 sentences, 5 sub-competencies there. And just notice which keywords you are getting attracted to. Are there any shiny objects on these 5 sub-competencies and definition of direct communication? What is resonating with you? And if you could put these keywords which you personally resonated with in the chat box. So for some of you could be effectively, for some of you could be greatest positive impact, or maybe clear, articulate, or whatever. Which are the keywords that you are picking up? Okay, can I stop the screen share? Okay. Okay. Clearly, articulation. Okay, language that has greatest positive impact, appropriate language and respectful. Okay, reframes. Effectively, okay. All right, positive impact. Great. Okay, and if you are not a coach, or if you don't think in a coaching competency way, then what is direct mean for you? Okay. Authentic, easily remembered, direct, respectful, face to face, to the point. Wow. Okay. Direct is direct. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, if I build on what Vijay has mentioned, direct is direct. So direct from where? Unadulterated. Okay, great. Johnny, it reminds me of some of the raids during Diwali holidays. The food safety inspectors have, raided some sweet shops. So yeah, but absolutely unadulterated. Okay. So direct from where? So direct needs to be originated from somewhere, right? So direct is from where? From where it is emerging. Rati says heart. Okay. From heart and mind. Okay. Gut. Okay. So I reminded of Jack Welch. Straight from the gut, right? Source, manner, style, destination. Wow. Manish, wonderful. Hmm. Okay. Heart, intuition, mind, Clara. Yeah. Shriram, you have mentioned from us or from the client. So I hope it is us, not US, because everything which is direct these days are coming from US. So, okay. All right. So thank you for all the expression. Yeah, Shriram, acknowledge that what you have said. Strategy and execution. Okay. All right. So this whole point about direct communication is and wonderful expression like unadulterated, straight from the heart, VG as VG direct is direct, absolutely wonderful. So I want to build that context because one of our objectives was that how direct communication can help us for masterful coaching. And before that, what ICF has mentioned, how ICF defines is that is clear, articulate, and direct in sharing and providing feedback. So I would like to use one reference here. Okay, and the reference is of a great event which happened almost 30 to 45 days back. But the way the communication and engagement is still going on, it looks like the ICF India conclave is still on. Okay, and that's the masterful work the team has done here. So over there were all, I think, all the speakers were great. Yeah, Manish, absolutely. Wow. So I would request you to just look at what Manish has just expressed in the chat. Great. Superb. All right. So, apart from all the wonderful sessions that ICF Chennai chapter had organized, and which is ICF India Conclave, people will remember it for a long time to come. There was one amazing session, masterclass by Kabir. He is known as Coach Kabir, and it was on the parallels or the synergy between martial arts and coaching. Yeah, so that and it's there up on the YouTube channel, which is Coaching Lessons from Master Martial Arts. Um, and that was an amazing session. So I would request all of you, if you haven't subscribe to ICF Chennai Charter Chapters YouTube channel, and you can consider that as a homework. Okay, for today's webinar is to invest your about 55 minutes of your valuable time, and we are going to watch some parts of it because it is so masterful and so resonating with today's session. So I thought to play that, and also then we derive the insights from there. Okay, so this webinar, which you will look at in full, and it's every moment is worth the gold. Okay, but if I focus on how coaches can be clear, articulate, and direct in sharing and providing feedback. Okay, so before I play that clip, what do you understand as providing the feedback? So do you think as coaches we are supposed to provide any feedback to the client? And if the feedback is, it is for what? Any thoughts in the chat box or anything in the form of observations? Our understanding and observations can be shared. Okay. All right. Reflections. Mirroring. Wow. Intuition. Okay. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Absolutely. When Aniruddha is there, we ensure compliance. So he says that without permission, you should not share. Absolutely right. So, okay, so let me play this clip and see what emerges for you. And then we bridge this whole piece into the piece of direct communication. Okay, so with your permission, I'm sharing the screen. Just give me a moment. Okay, this is a part of the webinar. So some of you may find a little disconnect with the context, but don't worry. He is so articulate and so clearly he says that you will pick it up in no time.
Is that at some point in time, you realize that the artist himself or herself has become a work of art. It's the art that has transformed the artist. It's not that the artist becomes a master of the art, but rather the artist is transformed through the practice of the art. And the work of art is the artist itself or himself or herself, and not so much the art. So, as some of these practitioners would say, I am an artist, my life is my work of art, as opposed to saying I am an artist and see how well I perform, but rather it has to transform your whole life. And so that was really the way, or the martial way. And so it was meant less that you would be able to go out and kill and maim somebody, or even self-defense. Yes, self-defense is a part of it, and that is helpful. But really, it is about, does it transform your life? So when we get to judo, or the gentle way, it works on a couple of principles, right? The first principle is called Seiroku Zenyo. And Seiroku Zenyo means maximum efficiency, minimum effort, right? And I'm going to talk about two more principles, and then I'll explain them to you. So Seiroku Zenyo, which is maximum efficiency, minimum effort. Jita Koei, which means mutual welfare and benefit. And the third one is Juyoku Go O Seisu, which is suppleness or flexibility overcomes hardness or brittleness or stiffness. So think about it for a moment in terms of these three principles of maximum efficiency, minimum effort, mutual welfare or benefit, and suppleness or flexibility overcomes stiffness or hardness. These are very.
Okay, thank you for watching. So now if we use the context of clear, articulate, direct, in sharing and providing feedback, communicates effectively during coaching sessions to use the language that has the greatest positive impact on the client. So now when you watch this short clip, what comes up for you before I share my interpretation? How as coaches we can learn from what Kabir has just mentioned? Okay, all right. The aim is the transformation. Hmm. Okay, great. Okay, let me share what he started off with. Okay, and in this entire masterclass, he has mentioned a couple of times that are you coaching or coaching is flowing through you? Okay, are you, when the client is speaking, Are you busy framing your next question, or are you filtering their expression through your own beliefs and values and your own filters? And that is the time you may miss direct communication. Like, for example, if you're standing in front of a mirror, then mirror shows what it is. Mirror does not beautify or add any background or anything. It just shows as it is. So we use the word, somebody has used the word reflect, right? Reflection. So reflection of what? So is, if the coach really has to practice direct communication, then it needs to be as is. Okay. There is an opportunity to reframe, and that certainly can be, that's the second part that we'll get into in the moment. But what Kabir was saying, that when you are practicing martial arts so much, or for that matter any art, and coaching is perhaps art and science both, but at a mastery level it is just the art. Because when you say direct, can you become the instrument of the universe, and whatever questions are coming to you, are you asking what you feel like asking? Somebody has mentioned from the gut. Second point is that whatever you are giving as a feedback, and we'll get into that in a moment, so how that is as pure, as absolute, rather than your version of it. Okay, like some coaches I have seen that when they are expressing emotions, for example, when they're exploring emotions, for example, so when the client is speaking, they pick up on the client's tone and say that, so what makes you so frustrated? Where the client has not used the word frustrated. Is the coach who has given that spin to the conversation. Do not do that. That's not direct communication. Instead, you may ask, so as you are expressing, what are the emotions that come up for you? What are you feeling in this moment? Or you may use that I'm sensing that something is bothering you from your tone, and we'll get into that in that moment. But be a mirror. Do not give your spin, because one of the presuppositions for coaches at any level, and I do not say that when you are coaching masterfully, you are MCC, then only you can coach masterfully. No, I have seen many MCCs. You might question um, the way they coach, and nobody to judge, it's their choice. But some people who, so all I'm trying to say that even if they're ACCs, they may coach masterfully. So I'm not talking about master coach, I'm talking about masterful coaching. So masterful coach will tell himself or herself that I don't matter in a coaching session. My knowledge, my values, my beliefs do not matter. So I can be the mirror. Okay, so that is something which I thought to bring it up, so that you become the art. You are not a coach, but you are coaching, and that is possible. You're not in the moment, but you are fully present. Yeah. So what about how to build that directness, where you are just the vehicle? Questions come to you and you ask, and whatever you observe, you share. So I have a small acronym to share with you to build the direct communication in a way which is very soft, very gentle, very respectful, but very clear. Okay, and I'm typing in the chat box, and that acronym is known as SON. Okay, so even people who have daughters can also use this tool. So S stands for sensing. Okay, O stands for observing, and N stands for noticing. Okay, now what is the difference? There is a subtle difference, but there is a clear difference. So S stands for sensing, which means that as client is sharing, client is describing the situation. Say for example, if you ask that what is it that you want to achieve at the end of the session, and client says that, it's the usual problem that even today I wanted to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning and go for my health and fitness session, but even today I missed. So I am feeling really awful and I'm angry with myself. Yeah. So now the moment client, and they might have done that before. So maybe a chatter within you might emerge, because please remember, the hardest part for coaches is this, that any sensory inputs that come to you from the client, brain automatically processes it. And after processing, it tries to make meaning out of it. So you might recall, your memory might serve you at the wrong time. Yeah, he's a serial defaulter. Twice, thrice also before he has done that. Oh my God, he's bringing the same, dilemma again, like our peer coaches do. That same dilemma get coached by 5, 6 people. So now what should I do? What question I should ask? Maybe that kind of chatter come up. So how you are able to suspend that piece? That's the, to me, I mean, Vijay and some many other experienced coaches here. But in my view, the hardest part for coaches is to suspend the judgment. So in that moment, if you are present in the moment, how you can sense. So sensing means what is emerging inside of you, what is emerging within you in that moment. So if there is any thought coming in, if there is any feeling coming in, or anything else, maybe a use of any metaphor or any example that coming up for you, are you in touch with your own senses? And unless it sounds judgmental, would you like to just place it with client's permission? We'll go for that how part a little later, but sensing is what is emerging within you as you hear the client in that moment, not for the past, not your next question. Yeah. O stands for observing, which is as client is expressing, what are the visual cues that client is you are able to observe. So is there any change in facial expression, change in body posture, any body language changes, hand movements, going forward, going backward, anything that is happening, which is visual cues that are observing. And N stands for noticing, which is what are those things that you are able to notice inside the clients, not very visual, but non-verbal cues, which means that there's a change in the tone, change in volume, energy shift, okay, or the way they say certain words, okay, there's a change in intonation, change the way they speak, they repeat certain words, which you are able to sense, able to feel. So the difference between sensing and noticing is sensing is within you and noticing is within the client, inside of the client. And as a mirror, you need to reflect that before you ask your next question which you wanted to ask. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely, Shirin. So I'll take a pause here. And if there are any questions or any expressions coming in the chat box, happy to respond to that. But if you hone your skills on this SON, your ability to reflect, okay, becomes better. And as we are all into going into solar and renewable energy, so especially with solar panels, you know that the better the reflectivity is, the better the efficiency is. So what Kabir has said, minimum effort, maximum efficiency. So in your session, coaching session, adding masterful element where you will be able to practice minimum effort. What is the effort? Just be present and tell yourself that I don't matter, and whatever I was a second ago, I am dead, and whatever I would be after next second, I'm not born. So my next question shouldn't be born. I must coach in the moment. So whatever is emerging within me, I should say, but you need to check that whatever is emerging within you, is it pure or is it adulterated? Okay, adulterated is for today's that patent is awarded to Johnny. So maybe you would like to claim some royalty there. So if your thoughts are adulterated from your version of what you're observing, what you are trying to sense within, just try and see how it can be cleansed and pure. Okay. And if you are present enough, you will know that whatever is that you are sensing, it is coming from somewhere. Okay. And in many ways, any art form, okay, we have many of the artists here. Some of you I know also, but any artist, if you ask them, say somebody is a painter, you ask them that how exactly have you painted? They might say that I don't know. Because once the painting, the brush and color is there and the canvas is there, painting just happens. So what Kabir was mentioning, that you art then drives you, like that coaching will also drive you. You will get questions from somewhere, or you will get sensing from somewhere, and it will just happen. And all that I'm trying to say is very much possible, trainable. What you just need is a presence. Absolutely, Nitha. That's exactly what I'm hinting at. That noticing shouldn't be a judgment. Maybe I am noticing, and that is why I always recommend that to be able to process within, don't be in a rush to coach. Ask your next question or place your observation. Allow 5-second pause between the client has finished speaking and your next question or next observation begins. So pausing is highly recommended for honing your this core competency, which is direct communication. Yeah. Yeah, Ashok, I'm reading your comment in the chat box. So not sure about the end part, about the how to respond part. Maybe when we go to Q&A, in case you would like to ask. But yeah, coach should also take time to reflect, but ensure that it shouldn't be longer than the time that coachee has taken, because, or rather client has taken, because it shouldn't be a deafening silence. It should be a calming silence, and your calming presence also will make it more like not a deafening silence. Okay. And as we are reflecting on this, yeah, absolutely, i I wanted to propose that if that is okay for you, to go in the breakout room for maybe around 15 minutes or so. So we'll also add the second element of reframing here, and then maybe you can perhaps, there's a micro practice. So that might be useful to apply what we are just learning and some of your own wisdom that you are already carrying here. So which is great. Um, about reframing. Okay. So how ICF defines is that reframes and articulates to help the client understand from another perspective what he or she wants or is uncertain about. So anything on reframing? How do you understand reframing and how that can be done? Any ideas? Inverted U, Gerard, amazing. Hmm. Content and context. Oh wow, yeah. Hmm. To get new options. Okay, all right. Now, so Johnny has opened a beautiful front, so which some of you who who are keen to learn more about reframing. It is beautifully defined in NLP, which is content reframing and context reframing, and I think it's great to learn from there. What I would focus on today, because it is an amazing learning NLP has offered through reframing and coaching. And what I would focus here today in the limited time that we have is that how reframing can also be a part of direct communication, because you are helping the client to gain perspective. Okay. So Anurag, what you have asked is, in a way, it is right. If the reframing is done, which is mixing of our perception, then it is not right. But what we are trying to focus here in reframing is that, see, entire coaching is done on two fronts. Okay, it's in a way people want to manage change. So either they want to overcome something, or they want to take something to the next level, or there's a linear journey from A to B. I want to get a clarity, I want to get I want to get promotion, or I want to overcome my habits, whatever. So yeah, so how coaching is done. So basically coaching is a wonderful process where you can help somebody, or help is also not the right word, but I'm using the general conversational word, so not to be taken literally here. So we are just enabling the management of change. Okay, and when we are enabling that, sometimes clients' frame of mind may not be useful in taking them to where they want to reach, which is at the end of the session, what is the outcome? Yeah. So how to do the reframing? Okay, just couple of things, and more on that you can learn through context and content reframing and stuff like that, what Johnny has beautifully mentioned. Yeah, paradigm shift, absolutely. So to kickstart that shift, to create that shift, or help the client create that shift, reframing becomes useful. And in a simplistic way, suppose client says that, so you say that, okay, so in this situation, what is it that you would like to do? Client said, I don't know. So whenever they say, I don't know, sometimes, you know, coaches who are evolving, um, they feel stuck. Okay. So, so when they say, I don't know, you might simply reframe and say that, okay, so what would it take for you to know? Yeah. So your question leads to reframing. Okay. Second is, usually whenever you ask, and I would encourage everybody to ask, because behind every thought that the client has expressed, there are feelings. So, and feelings and emotions, these words are also used interchangeably, but medically, there are two different things, but not again getting into the semantics here. We all understand feelings and emotions, we use interchangeably, so no problem there. But suppose you ask, okay, so as you are expressing, okay, so Jamila, I was saying that if the client says that I don't know of any of the question that you asked and client responds, I don't know. So at that time, coach gets stuck. Many coaches get stuck at that time. So one of the reframing would be that what would it take for you to know? Okay, and there are many versions of that, but simply remove the word don't from that question and just ask your next question. Okay, so you ask the clients, okay, so as you are expressing this, I noticed that there are some emotion in the background. So what else would you like to express? What are you feeling as you are sharing this? And client would say that, you know, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling depressed, and I'm utterly confused. Okay, so at that time, first go for peripheral check and say that, okay, so I heard you say these three emotions. Apart from that, are there any other emotions that you're experiencing in this moment? Always ask emotions, because it's a direct communication. Always ask emotion related question in the present moment. Not that when your company decided to relieve you, okay, when you were laid off, how did you feel at that time? No, it'll open Pandora's box. Just so as you are expressing this to me, how are you feeling in this moment or at this time? Ask a clear, clean question. And then client says that, yeah, so anger, frustration, and I'm feeling quite depressed at this moment. Then go for reframing of emotions. So instead of anger, feeling of frustration, and couple of other emotions that you have mentioned, instead of these emotions, what would you prefer to feel in this moment or at the end of our session. So client will reframe there in their mind, and if their emotional literacy is there, then it might say that, okay, I want to feel happy, satisfied, relaxed, whatever. Or I want to feel comfortable, or I want to feel relieved, all in all. Then, okay, so in order for you to feel these emotions, what needs to happen in this session? So reframing, consider this, guideline that reframing should help the client move forward. Okay, and your SON will help the client to go deeper. And a coaching session, masterful coaching session, is nothing but an symphony of going deeper and going forward. Yeah. Say one last point on this reframing, and say we have in previous, so current competency 2.4, and in new competencies 3.4. Okay, so what the client needs to address in order to achieve the outcome or something like that. So, we call it barrier question. Okay, so client says, you might ask that, okay, so where you are right now and what you want to achieve, say at the end of the session, what is it that, is there anything that is potentially standing in your way, or you need to address, or you need to overcome? There are multiple versions of that question. And suppose client says that I am the one who is standing in my own way, and coaches come and tell me that we feel that there is a wall of China in front of us. How to climb that? Client says, I'm only standing in my own way and I don't know how to get out of it. At that time, you may have to go deeper before reframing. You might like to ask, okay, so where this thought is coming from, if that is okay for you to share. And then they may have the brown water out a little bit, and then you might ask, okay, again, then reframing. Okay, so client would say that, I'm good for nothing, and I should have studied well, otherwise I would not have got into this kind of a work, and nobody appreciates me and all that. Okay, and that's why I'm thinking that I'm only standing in my own way. And you might ask, again, reframing the perspective, you might ask, so I'm curious that what would be the benefit of continuing with these beliefs, or is there a merit in continuing to hold these beliefs? So what is the benefit do you see if you continue to think this way? What will happen? And 9 out of 10 clients would say that, no, I don't think there is any merit in holding such beliefs. Okay, so what are some of your strengths that can be called to action, which may help you to overcome, or whatever that is? I'm not going there further, but help them to reframe the perspectives, reframe. So you are not adding anything from your side here, but you are just acting as a mirror. Okay, so I think the way we are going on time, If I may request Natarajan to help us create breakout rooms, and we may not have everybody to practice, but in case we have a group of say 3 to 4 in one breakout room, and what you need to do is that when you go to breakout room, if one person can express anything that was your high point in last week, or your low point of last week, okay, and then if you can just describe it in 3, 4, 5 sentences, and if the coaches who are listening, if they can simply share anything from S, O, or N, and then if there is a merit in asking any reframing question there, then let us see what happens. It's a micro practice, and we are in the respect of your precious time as well. So we might be back in next, how much time, Natarajan?
You want me to set up 10 minutes or 15 minutes?
Yeah, I think 10 minutes should be good. Yeah, Gauri, we
10
are
minutes
happy to
plus a
have you here.
60-second counter.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Okay.
right.
Okay. So I created the rooms. Shall I open the rooms?
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. Some of you are still joining from the breakout room. Okay. So would you like to express quickly about how was your experience with sensing, observing, noticing, and in case the opportunity was provided for reframing?
Okay. Hi, Ujjaval. This is Anbu Joseph here.
Yeah, Anbu.
Hi. Okay. So in our session, one person gave their scenario, but it was a very low point. But the person was giving that low point in a most funful way.
Mm-hmm.
So we started from there actually, noticing that that the person is feeling very not in that low mode. She was not telling it, but she was telling it in a very jovial mode or in a lighter mode.
Mm-hmm.
So we asked a question saying that, okay, are you feeling right now? Because you are telling it in a lighter way.
Yeah.
Instead of reframing it, we thought we'll go deeper into that,
Sure,
because that is
sure.
that way we started. And then she said after that, I don't know what to do and other things. Then we put in the reframing, and then we started asking further questions on that.
Okay.
So,
Okay, great. Thank you, Anbu, and happy to have you here today.
yeah.
And Ujjaval, I will just add, if I may. So,
Yeah.
So what you had shared as sensing, observing, noticing. So observing, noticing, that came in very handy. And the set as I thought as a very comprehensive tool. So that worked well in the process too, especially
Sure.
when we brought in observing, noticing. So I was along with Anbu and Bhavani there. So yeah, so very, very fascinating the way it all sort of worked.
Sure.
Almost
Thank you.
seamlessly, I would say. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Great. Great. Awesome. So thank you for practicing. Thank you for investing your time over there. And just another, if that is okay for you, another 2 or 3 minutes, short clip from the same session, which those of you who joined a little late, I'll just mention that there is a homework after this session. So ICF Chennai Charter Chapter has just hosted last month, I believe, a great ICF India conclave, and there was this masterclass on about coaching lessons from martial arts from Coach Kabir, and that is the session. It's not on coaching or not on martial arts, but it's a session on life lessons. A lot of it, what we have covered today in direct communication as a competency, is wonderfully depicted in many ways over there. You will find many more connections with coaching competencies over there. But just as a context, okay, I'm just sharing this 2 or 3 minutes clip, and then we get into Q&A if there are any. Okay, just allow me a moment. I will quickly share that part.
Different. You're much more adaptable and responsive. You say, okay, this is what we need to do, but we will get there as long as I'm attentive to these laws of life itself, as long as I partner with life, as opposed to try to dominate or rule or control. And it's a very different experience. There are a couple of other things I wanted to say, where a part of this, the first thing I learned for the first 6 months of learning judo, I just spent 6 months learning something called ukemi. And ukemi essentially is the art of falling. It's how to fall well without hurting yourself. So my teacher would always say, he'd say, listen, the reason why you're not able to do beautiful judo, and beautiful judo is like living life itself. You live life fully. You live life wholeheartedly. You don't hold anything back, right? But the reason you're not able to do beautiful judo, the reason when you are on the mat, even if you are throwing your opponent, what I can see in you is a desire to win. And the problem with the desire to win is that you sacrifice in that beauty and art, right? But your priority should be to do beautiful judo, not to win. That's important. That's important because that's really when you're able to live wholeheartedly. Because if you're trying to win all the time, you're holding a lot back. And winning is not the point here is not to win. The point here is to live beautifully, right? And living beautifully is the only win that you want at the end of the day. There is everything else is incidental. Everything else is just kind of goals that keep shifting. And he'd say, and the reason why you're not able to do beautiful judo is because you're afraid of being thrown. You're afraid of falling. But once you get over the fear of falling, once you see that, once you know how to fall safely, then you're able to just go and let the judo do you, right? So that's why he said no singing, no thinking, because once you learned the art, let the art come through you, right? So it doesn't mean that you don't practice. It's like, it's like learning a musical instrument. You spend hours learning how to do it right. But once you do it, once you learn how to do it right, then let the music play you. Let it come through you. Don't then kind of start questioning how you're doing it. Don't get into your head. So it's
Yeah. So thanks for watching this very powerful second part of the clip. So, in order to coach in a masterful way, to be able to communicate truly in a direct manner, like Vijay mentioned, direct means direct. He said that your intent to partner rather than dominate or control, and don't hold anything back, right? So whatever emerges within you, just make sure that it is not a judgment, it is not a suggestion, it is not your spin to what client is expressing, as long as you are just able to mirror it without adding or subtracting anything. And most important is your desire to win. So in coaching, I feel that many times coaches get stuck in desire to do good coaching and desire to get the client to achieve the outcome. No, do not attach yourself to client's outcome. It's client's job, is their outcome, not ours. Your job is to focus on the process, not on the outcome. So, and he said that for 6 months he learned to fail. So some of you, practice peer coaching very well, but many times we are masterful at making everything mechanical. So many of coaches, they are gathering just they do peer coaching just to gather hours. They don't learn and grow. They don't reflect. after the coaching session, or the other peer coach also is not providing objective feedback. Neither coaches ask. I'm not generalizing, but I have got hundreds of feedbacks that peer coaching becomes too boring. But that's your way. This ukemi, as Kabir was saying, that's the way you learn to fall and learn to fail. Absolutely, Johnny. So, as a coach, to be able to feel like failing, feel like falling, how can we create, insulation against that, so that we are no longer worried? One of the things that he mentions in this video is that person who is sleeping on a floor does not have a fear of falling from the bed. So that's the note which I would like to take a pause, and I hope this session was useful to you in some way. And I have also learned from your wonderful responses here. And the homework, please don't forget that 55 minutes of your time is worth investing, even if you are just a beginner coach, or even if you are a seasoned coach, do not matter. It's an amazing video, and I would be happy to learn from you, your insights, whether you have watched the video and what it emerged for you as learning. So you have my email ID, some of you have my phone number, or we can, you know, meet on LinkedIn kind of a platform also. But now for remaining time, I would be happy to take questions if there are any. And I don't promise whether I would have answers, but maybe together we discover the answers. But thank you so much for everyone for joining, and it's a pleasure serving you today. And before you, if somebody is in a hurry, just wait for a minute, where Natarajan will share the end passcode for claiming your CCUs. So that's go away. Okay, all right. Okay. And if there are any questions, more than happy to take that. Please ask in the chat or unmute and share.
So Ujjwal, may I ask that question again that I'd asked earlier?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I haven't been able to absorb it, so I have to get a little deeper there.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to distinguish between observing and noticing.
Okay.
And because you use the word noticing from within, so I would think that observing is both verbal and non-verbal cues. How would noticing, or what would the enhancement be in noticing that would make it from within?
Sure. That's a good question, Neeta, and happy to make that very finer distinction. Say, for example, in observing, both verbal and non-verbal will come, but which you are able to get a visual cue for. That is, you're observing, right? So you're observing through your eyes, so body language, posture, there's a change in facial expressions, eye contact missing or eyeball movement changing, stuff like that. Okay. And noticing would be what is something intrinsic. So the tone, okay, you may not be able to observe the tone, right? But you may be able to notice the tone. So change in tonality, shift in energy, they have used a particular word repetitively, or the way they say that. So for example, I am disturbed, and say I am disturbed. So stress on a particular syllable. So these are the stuff which usually not a part of visual cue, but they are a part of something which is driving or emerging from within. So we inquire over there. It's just a finer difference, but even like feeling and emotions, even if observing and noticing both needs to be merged for a better understanding, that also can be done. No worries over there.
Great. Thanks for clarifying that. It's now the haze is lifted. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, sure.
Can I ask something?
Yes, Mehul.
Hi, it's really wonderful to be a part of this session. As always, Ujjwal, thank you very much for taking us through this.
Most welcome.
When we do this, it is as you mentioned, it is very hard to be present and stay away from judgment. So, from a psychological perspective, how do we learn and hone the skill of listening, hearing, sensing, observing, noticing,
Okay.
yet not allowing our judgment to adulterate it?
Okay. Yeah, sure. You will have to pay royalty to Johnny today because the word adulteration, adulterated and unadulterated is today he is holding copyrights. So, okay. All right. So, yeah, that's a great question. So the answer, and it's maybe a work of a lifetime, answer lies in something which is known as meta awareness. So what is meta awareness? Is awareness about awareness. So as I am speaking, am I listening to myself? Am I listening to my voice? I'm listening to my tone. Am I listening to my pace? So if I am, so for that will ground me in the moment. I will be present in the moment. And when client speaks, I will shift my awareness to them, but part of my awareness will be my meta awareness. So as client is speaking, and say client says that, when I met with an accident, I almost faced death. And if I also had similar experience, then that memory will start evoking within me because that sensory input has gone inside. But my meta awareness would tell me that now client has said and it has started affecting me. So what I will do is that I will not grapple with myself. I will not struggle with myself, but I'll let it be. And the moment client finishes speaking, I'll take a 5-second pause and say that, okay, so that memory is evoked within me, but I will suspend that and let me see what question I can ask next or what I can place as immediate in the moment exploration. Yeah. So that part, once I am comfortable with, my half attention will be with the client, half attention will be with myself. But it's like liver, right? Once the liver is transplanted, half liver is cut and it grows full. So meta awareness is such, and somebody has asked a question in the chat box. Yes, it is like about being witness to yourself. So meta awareness, once you fully work on it, 100% attention is with you, 100% attention is with the client, and your coaching presence, your listening, and your questioning is not affected.
Super, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, most welcome. Yeah, so Alok, so it will look like a divide of attention initially, but then both becomes full. As I just give an example of liver, it when it cut in few days, almost 2 or 3 weeks, in both the patients, then it becomes fully grown. So one liver becomes two, but it still remains one in each, right? So your meta awareness works fully well 100% when the client is speaking, 100% when you are also speaking, and also it does not then trouble you. It's not a cognitive overload when you are focusing within you and focusing on the client as well. And that is where you can become direct, right? So that is where you become a mirror, reflective mirror.
So, Ujjwal, Ashok here.
Yeah, Ashok.
Yeah, you had asked me to state my question towards the end of the Q&A session.
Sure.
So, for the benefit of everybody, I had asked the question regarding reflection, where we invite a client to reflect and give him some time. And as Vijay mentioned, that is the comfortable silence.
Yeah.
When the client responds, the next question doesn't evolve, and I get the sense that, yes, I do not wish to make judgments, and I am sort of do not want to lead, do not want to judge. I also maintain that silence.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that the skill of reframing, which you talked subsequently, was
Mm-hmm.
probably the answer that I needed
Okay,
to push me to the next question.
sure.
So you had asked about what I mean by it, but I
Yeah.
got the answer from your
Okay.
subsequent share.
Great.
Thank
Great.
you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Most welcome, Ashok, and happy to meet you here.
As we are running out of time, there are any other questions, you can always share it with Ujjaval.
Yeah.
He's available and he will be willing to answer. May I now invite Vijay for the closing remarks.
Thank you, Natarajan. I'm wondering how to close something that is just flowing like a river. Someone's got to do that. Well, the not so good job, but it gives me a great pleasure to have this, few minutes to talk for many reasons. First being, I think Ujjaval is truly a masterful coach, and I have never been coached by him, by the way. But I can say that because I've had so many interactions with him. He's a very good friend, and more than anything else, a very fine human being. I've always been amazed by the way he has been able to, we've had, well, never a coaching relationship, but a lot of coaching conversations, and I've been quite amazed at the way he has always found this beautiful knack, I would say, artistry, to give not so good feedback in a way that is just so honoring of the other person. Yeah, and by the time, there's another concept called landing softly, right? We spoke about falling gently, but there's also landing softly. So Ujjaval's feedback will land so softly, but the sharpness of it will be there, and that is a skill. And which is why when this topic really sort of came in my head, and I was talking to Natarajan, I said there's one person I can think of, and we are going to, let's hope he consents. And I think Ujjaval didn't have too much of a choice. Ujjaval, well, gracefully agreed. And the reason we picked this topic was also that I think, and this is of course my perspective, that culturally also, right? I think from the kind of the region where we are, etc., being direct, or being sort of, well, direct the way it is understood, is not something most of us are really grow up with, right? I mean, and we are not really taught to just sort of say things as it is. And yet in coaching, we realize that there is a lot of power in that, and that need not necessarily be negative, rude, or the negative connotations, the fears that come along with it. I've also often got this feedback saying that in recordings and things like that, sometimes there is a cultural aspect which comes in the way direct communication doesn't show up that way. And so we thought it might be a very good, interesting topic to explore. And I think, Ujjaval, you brought it to life like nobody else did.
Thank you.
And I think the activity was great. In my breakout room, I had actually shared, and there was so much that emerged out of that small exercise. And so thank you very much. Thank you for the session, your wonderful lessons in communicating, the way you ran this session. So artistically, I would say that's the word that keeps coming back. And I'm sure with the kind of engagement and the way everyone's been asking questions, participating, I think we have all taken back a few lessons. And of course, you were smart enough to sneak in that homework as well. So it's a buy one, get one. So you attend this 1.5 hours, you go back for another 60 minutes. But incidentally, Sanjay Kabir is also a very good friend, and he did a superb session at the conclave. So those of you who did not attend, please do listen to it. And just want to tell you about a little bit about what the chapter has in store. Next week, next Wednesday, In fact, we are having a coffee connect, Coaches Coffee Connect, which is another amazing space. And if you've not attended it before, you must come in. It's got a mix of sharing, connection, learning. And while it started off as a space for Chennai coaches to come together, everyone is welcome to join in. So please do come. And this time we are trying a weekday evening, format, because a lot of people say that Saturdays sometimes don't work out, and we want something in the weekdays. So please do join us. And last but not the least, if you do have any suggestions or topics for our webinars or how we can grow coaches, because growing coaches is a very important part of our vision and the theme that we do in everything we do at the chapter. So Natarajan is your man. Please do write to him at events@icfchennaicharterchapter.com to share any suggestions or thoughts about future webinars as well. On that happy note, I do look forward to seeing many of you again on the 17th. Yeah, 17th of November. Exactly. Same next Wednesday, similar time. Please be there. There's going to be a very interesting session on NLP, which we've been hearing that many of you are curious to learn about. So please be there. Thank you, Natarajan, for an amazing coordination of this session. And must tell you, Natarajan has recently taken over as our Director L&D, and he is, rocking already. So let's give a round of applause to Natarajan.
Thank you.
And to our GROW webinars that is back after, I think, a 5-month gap because of the conclave. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Vijay.
And do fill in the form for feedback and for CCUs.
Thank you, Vijay. And thank you, Ujjaval. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.